podcast. It's Thursday, August 25th, 2022. So one day after Australia Bank announces that they will cease granting car loans for all gasoline-powered vehicles, California announced that they will ban sales of combustion engine cars. Also, former Attorney General Bill Barr, his memo released unredacted shows again that there was no evidence to charge Trump with Russian collusion. Google launches pre-bunking program to fight so-called misinformation, reminiscent of the Minority Report's pre-crime. United Kingdom Metro Police in London and Scotland Yard to close investigation into Jeffrey Epstein's child trafficking case. We're talking about these headlines and more coming up right now. So the first article up here is from Motor Trend. Beginning of the end, California will completely ban the sale of new gasoline-powered cars. Manufacturers will no longer be allowed to sell any gasoline-fueled cars in California by 2035. Barron's reports California moves to ban sales of gasoline-powered cars by 2035. In their lead, California is moving to ban sales of gasoline-powered cars by 2035. That is a big deal for the electric vehicle industry. The rule, which essentially accomplishes the ban, comes from the California Air Resources Board, or CARB, and is an extension of Governor Gavin Newsom's previously stated goal to reduce auto emissions from new car sales to zero. Thanks, Governor. The Los Angeles Times writes, California is set to make history by banning sales of gas-powered cars. Can it deliver? So the Los Angeles Times lead is California air regulators are set to vote Thursday on a historic plan that would effectively require all new cars sold within the state to be zero-emission vehicles by 2035, a ruling that would put the nation's most populous state in the forefront of phasing out internal combustion engines and the harmful planet-warming gases they emit, so says the Los Angeles Times. The fact they do point out here, though, is that it is combustion engines that are under attack here, and combustion generally, because combustion emits carbon. Moving on to AP News, pre-bunking shows promise in fight against misinformation. So Google announces that they are going to start a program which they will put their algorithms behind, but basically putting out public service messages to convince people to think differently about information. But countering or stopping misinformation has proven elusive. And like I said before, misinformation or disinformation doesn't really exist. There's information, it's either accurate or it's inaccurate, but information is information. It's what you choose to do with it. Like if you look at a partisan website or news program or whatever it is, they'll give you information and you can take and understand that it's bias, and you can take that information and use a set of filters, psychological filters, to understand what exactly the facts are behind their propaganda in most cases. So the new findings from university researchers and Google, however, reveal that one of the most promising responses to misinformation may also be one of the simplest. In a paper published Wednesday in the Journal of Science Advances, the researchers detail how short online videos that teach basic critical thinking skills can make people better to resist misinformation. Now, everybody should have critical thinking skills, and I doubt whether these short videos are going to aid into your critical thinking skills or whether they're going to further propagandize you to resist factual information, or the idea, which is part of critical thinking, to criticize information that's given to you. So if somebody says something to you, you have to look at their bias, you have to look at their, particularly motivation. Motivation tells a lot about behavior, and that will indicate what they're trying to do. Like if you're listening to Rachel Maddow, you take what she says with a grain of salt. The researchers created a series of videos similar to a public service announcement that focused on specific misinformation techniques. Characteristics seen in many common false claims that include emotionally charged language, like we're under attack. Personal attacks or false comparisons between two unrelated items. So basically, this is more propaganda claiming they're going to aid your critical thinking skills when actually they're going to do a lot to the detriment of your critical thinking. So from the New York Post, DOJ improperly handled Barr memo on Trump obstruction, appeals court says. Now, this is from the 19th, so this is about a week ago. And the New York Post wrote, a federal appeals court has ruled that the Department of Justice improperly handled and withheld parts of an internal memo to then Attorney General Bill Barr that concerned whether former President Donald Trump obstructed justice in the infamous Russia investigation. But wait, the DOJ releases unredacted memo to Barr, Trump obstruction and Mueller probe. A federal appeals court ordered that the Justice Department to release a 2019 memo advising then Attorney General William Barr at the end of the Robert Mueller inquiry. The 9-page memo from March 24th was written by Stephen Engel, and then an Assistant Attorney General for the Office of Legal Counsel. The memo, which was released to a lawsuit by the government watchdog group, says Volume 2 of Mueller's report is not, in our judgment, sufficient to support a conclusion beyond a reasonable doubt that the president violated the obstruction of justice statutes. So basically, the unredacted memo says is that, just like Bill Barr said, there's not enough evidence to charge President Trump. So they made a big deal about unredacted. They sued to unredact the memo. And it basically said what the redacted memo said is that there wasn't enough evidence to charge Trump in obstruction of justice, including firing Bill Comey. Now, to be honest with you, Bill Comey should have been arrested for leaking classified investigation information to the press, which is a crime. So in the Huffington Post reports that explosive Bill Barr memo reveals DOJ's reasons for not prosecuting Trump. The memo supports then Attorney General William Barr's conclusion that Trump shouldn't be prosecuted in special counsel Robert Mueller's Russia probe. So all to do about nothing. Trump is clean. All the people that talk about Trump as a criminal, please tell us the crime and show us evidence of a crime, and no one can seem to do that. Moving along, so Met Police drop Jeffrey Epstein investigation in London, and Scotland Yard reveals it will take no further action over allegations made against the disgraced U.S. billionaire. And their lead says in the Daily Mail, Metropolitan Police has said it will be taking no further action over allegations against the disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein. The fact is, this is to protect the prince, and I think it's Prince Philip, who took part in Jeffrey Epstein's child sex trafficking. So again, nobody was named in the Ghislaine Maxwell case. This guy apparently committed suicide, which he was either murdered or he's alive somewhere in South America, which is not necessarily a conspiracy theory. It happens all the time when people are disgraced and they need to, end their public visage. They just escape somewhere, especially if they have millions of dollars, they have the wherewithal to do it. That's what happens. But he certainly didn't hang himself. So he was either murdered or what. But even the Ghislaine Maxwell case did not reveal the end users of child trafficking. It's a disgrace. So in related news, Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyers sue for over $878,000 in legal fees the law firm that helped defend Ghislaine Maxwell, the socialite convicted of helping financier Jeffrey Epstein sexually abuse underage girls. It's child trafficking. If you're going to, bring charges against Matt Gaetz, then you have to bring charges against the people that were the end users in this child trafficking case. So the lawyers were promised this money. She reneged, and now the lawyers are mad and saying that she has millions of dollars hid somewhere. And the lead from ABC News says a law firm that helped defend Ghislaine Maxwell, the socialite convicted of helping the financier Jeffrey Epstein sexually abuse underage girls, is suing her brother, and her husband, saying it was never paid. And they just allege that she has hidden money offshore and whatnot. Moving along to a separate headline. This is from the Gateway Pundit. Breaking. This is from yesterday. Actually the day before yesterday. Marjorie Taylor Greene swatted at home early Wednesday morning. So it was yesterday. It was early Wednesday. If those of you didn't know, as a computer-generated voice called in on a burner phone to the local police. I guess she's in Rome, Georgia. And, if you don't know anything about swatting, is someone calls with your address and said there's a heinous murder or some sort of assault with automatic weapons or whatever. And then the SWAT team responds, and then they kick in your door. Or in this case with Marjorie Taylor Greene, they knocked on the door and she was in bed. It was like 1 a.m. And nothing really occurred, but the fact is that someone called in wishing her harm, because if she did answer the door or with a weapon, she might have been shot. So, which is your right to do. You're in your home and all of a sudden you hear a commotion and you go to the door with your Glock or whatever, and the cops see you with a weapon, they could shoot you. In other headlines from Fox News, First Lady Jill Biden tests positive again for COVID-19 in rebound case. Jill Biden has no reemergent symptoms, according to the White House, despite positive COVID test. And they've been all the people that have been vaccinated seem to repeatedly get COVID. And it's been proven, the science proves, is that infection provided better immunity than any of these shots and boosters and what have you. The First Lady had tested negative for 3 consecutive days on Tuesday, but tested positive once again on Wednesday. Okay, what a dummy. So, that's it for the news today on Thursday. Rudy's Revelation. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment down below. I'm going to try pinning some comments myself down there to get people involved in the conversation. If you have something to add on these topics, if you can speak on these topics, please add a comment. Follow me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Get Our Minds, Parler. Check it out. We'll see you tomorrow.
You can't handle the truth.